world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling you need some kind of change. Standing on the wings of my dream, rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Rain and thunder, wind and haze, bound for better days. It's my life and my dream, nothing's gonna stop me now.
All right, welcome to TGIF. Tanner Grover Invites Friends is day number 15,507 of being me. Man, it's exhausting. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like I'm just out here in the wild and you never know who you're going to run across. And today, I believe we have a moose crossing in sight. It's my best childhood friend, Bobby Deetjen. When the game is on the line, no one better than Bobby Deetjen to ice the game from the charity stripe, as he did in 2001. Bobby, what's up, man?
Hey, that intro is awesome, by the way.
You,
Classic
you like?
pictures, videos. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm really glad that we have that old footage to cull through. You know, all right, I'll tell you this, right? That wasn't my initial idea at all for the intro. Um, what I did, Bobby, was I have a basketball, right? And I painted. I didn't paint. Actually, my friend Morgan Mitchell did it for me. She painted like Wilson from like Castaway on it, and I was trying to figure out how to like animate the basketball so it's like Tanner Grover invites friends. So I'd like open the door, I'd see the ball would roll in, and then I was gonna do a bunch of crazy shit with the ball. Um, like I don't know, I was gonna do like a Rorschach test. I had like ink blots. I was gonna like show the ball ink blots. Um, I don't know. I was gonna bowl with it. I have this book collection. I was gonna bowl through my books, but whatever. I'm kind of limited, but whatever. It came out pretty good though, right?
It's awesome.
So what? So first things first. Um, what do you think, Bobby? Our estimated date of friendship is our DOF.
I don't know. Probably. I don't know, probably in like '89. So like September of '89.
Yeah,
In that
and like
ballpark.
we weren't so. I think the first like homeroom teacher we ever had together was it. Wait, were you Haney or were you Greenleaf?
I was Greenleaf.
Okay, I was Greenleaf. So yeah, that was it then.
Right.
But I knew you prior because we had a whole church crew. You know, we had like our
Yeah.
church band. Um, that was, dude. I mean, I don't know. So I've got nieces and Allison is toying with the idea of church with them, and you know we're all encouraging her to do it because I think it's important to be like exposed to that, like as a kid. But like, what do you remember from like church days?
Um, Not an insane amount. I remember like you and Thomas Ellie and Evan Heisen and that group and just like doing the whole Sunday school thing. Um, yeah, I mean, I remember dreading it, like going down for sure.
Yeah, I didn't I enjoyed hanging out with all of you, and like
Right.
that was fun, but like it was boring, right? Like it was
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, it
not what I
wasn't.
wanted to be doing on a Sunday morning.
No, I think our Sunday afternoons were way more fun. You know,
Yeah.
when you and Thomas Sally would come over and we would wreak havoc. So, Bobby, the other thing I want to ask you, like, what was your first impression of me, like as a person. If you can't remember that, you can just say like, a fond old memory or whatever.
Well, I remember being in Mrs. Greenleaf's like class, and I remember the head to head multiplication challenges
Yes.
that we would have, right? And I remember you just cooking people in that. And then you would always ask everyone how to spell Czechoslovakia because you clearly knew how to spell Czechoslovakia and knew no one else did. So I mean, those are like two really early memories that they're just stuck in my head for sure for life.
Yeah, I don't know what possessed. I remember doing that, and I don't have an explanation as to why. Um, I also feel I remember the multiplication thing, and when you're like young, you're just like, yeah, man, whatever. Like 7 times 6, 42. But like I remember talking to you and being like, you're pretty good at this, but like Ian is like really good at this.
Yeah.
And, and it was like, whoa, man, being around that dude's like, he's gonna, if he wanted to, he could have built like Space XX. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude can really cook.
Well, it was just like, hey, I don't even think he was in those challenges. I think maybe like once just for fun because he wasn't headed to the like middle school math or high school math at that point. But yeah, Ian was different for sure in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a character, man. I'm gonna get him on here at some point. But I don't know. What I remember like is really just you're probably my most consistent friend, like growing up, like without question, and like one of the most dependable people on the planet, and like and I feel like your pathway was like a little bit more accelerated than like my other friends in terms of like doing life. Like you got married like relatively young compared to all of us, and now you've got like kids that are like in high school. And is Hannah going into eighth grade or freshman year?
So Hannah's going to be a seventh grader. She just turned 12 yesterday.
Okay.
And then Noah just completed driver's ed. So he just got his permit, which is insane. He'll be a sophomore. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty accurate. I mean, I definitely did those things a little bit earlier than most. Definitely wasn't the plan, but just kind of happened.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I noticed, and I want to ask you about this because you notice things on social media. Did Kate go see Vanilla Ice
She did.
recently?
Yeah. It was like a back to the 90s concert that happened in Bangor. And she was like, Vanilla Ice was the only person that could get through a song without having to like stop because they were breathing so heavy. And I think he performed at the very end. But yeah, it was like a 3-hour concert, and everyone was from like either the late 80s or early 90s. It was awesome.
That's insane.
It was like part of it.
There?
Yeah.
Like Fakiko Medina?
Yeah. Like, so I think she had a blast. She said it was funny. She's like, but you definitely feel good about yourself if you're in decent shape.
Yeah. Well, dude, hey man, the Deetjen clan and Kate Lay, like you're all like fitness has always been a priority for you guys, and you're an athlete, right? Like I think what part of what bonded us, we weren't just good little church boys. We were into basketball, right? Like that was our jam. Like growing up, that we were hoopers, and it's funny that little intro video that you mentioned, like I put it together with the footage I had, like kind of intentionally, with the idea of like telling a story, right? And it culminates with like winning the state title, and then I'm reading about it in the paper. Like that's the genesis of what that little intro is about. But like, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Bobby, but you're the one who taught me like what the state championship even is. And one of my earliest memories is of you in like fourth or fifth grade, maybe being like, I'm going to win the gold ball. And me just being like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's awesome. I mean, that would probably be 100% true. Because that was the thing. Like we would go to Augusta and watch, and I remember seeing the teams when we were younger, and they were not great. And their records were always like right around 500, but we thought they were awesome. But it always confused me about how they couldn't like go to the tournament, or that they weren't winning when they did get to the tournament. And just seeing like watching it on TV, seeing the gold ball, I mean, like that's what I want to do. And it's in you being my best friend, like obviously I wanted you to be like into it too. So I'm sure I did push it pretty hard.
Yeah, it wasn't. You didn't have to push me very hard just because it was kind of the special time where that's what we did as kids, and it has to do a lot with like the literal juxtaposition of the YMCA to the schools, where it's like we had this opportunity every day to like cross the street and go to the gym, and then you had the added bonus of both your parents or teachers, so you had access to the elementary gym whenever you wanted it, man. I mean that, like, so I never like tell me about this. Like, did you like work out with like Mr. D? Like in the gym? Like, was that a part of what you did?
I think I worked out with my dad probably like 3 times. Most of the time. So I started going to my dad's practices when he was coaching the girls, probably when I was like 4 or 5, and going through all their drills with them and just going along. And then probably individually, I probably only worked out with my dad like twice. And I
Okay.
think once was in high school. And then the other one probably was either my freshman, or it was probably my sophomore year of college, coming back in like a Christmas break or something, and just to get my shot right. And he just rebounded. That's pretty much what he did.
It's funny, for all the shots you put up in practice, you were always such an unselfish player. Like that was the struggle with you. Like, why couldn't we get Bobby to shoot more? It was just like, I don't know. It's just how you are, I think. And it's I remember talking to you about this too. I feel like in, I don't know, junior high or something, being like, Bobby, like, why don't you fucking shoot more? And I think your answer was like so like just black and white. You're just like, I don't know, I just like to pass. It was like, okay.
I always looked at it as, if there was a better shot, like that was great. If somebody was more open, or we had more of an advantage inside, like that's what I was always looking for. So I think when it comes to the game of basketball, I was always kind of like a purist at heart. Like I watched the game a little bit differently, I think, than others. I loved like the ball movement side of things. And when you would have a wide open layup or a wide open jumper instead of a contested one, like that just made sense to me. Even though sometimes I probably should have shot a little bit more, but that's just what it was. It just never felt right.
I mean, so tell me about this game. And I know you know what I'm gonna talk about. Madison, junior year, second round of the tournament, right? This was kind of like your coming out party, right? Like they had this game plan because we had a really good team, and we had Ben Smith, who was a stud as a senior, and we had Tibbetts, who, he's kind of a wild card, but Tibbetts could go off and you had to pay attention to him. And they decided that they were going to let you do you, and boy, did they fuck up.
Yeah, I remember that was probably the strangest moment on a basketball court that I've ever been through. And probably one of the weirdest things is a team did that to my son this year as a freshman. And so to come to learn later on from Travis Magnuson, that was like a thing that was thought up in a bar between DePatsy and Tommy Maines. And I can't remember who the other coach was, that they were just going to double Ben and Tyler as much as possible and just let me shoot because I hadn't shot really before and no one thought that I could. So, I mean, it certainly was something that was bizarre because when you're standing out in the middle of the Augusta Civic Center and nobody's guarding you, like it's just a little strange, but I mean, it backfired on him for sure.
But yeah, I think you dropped 26. It's like, you don't leave Bobby Deetjen open. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just you never want to come up with a game plan at a bar, I guess.
Right. Well, that's who knows like how much truth there is to that one, but knowing those guys, it's probably some.
Yeah, probably. Probably. So, one of the more epic things that I think that carried on throughout our youth and throughout high school was the driveway battles with Merritt.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
That was probably the best thing that could have happened to me as a kid playing basketball against Merritt, because Merritt would just go all out and he would just beat the crap out of me. So I understood like how to take a hit when I'm going up for a shot. But the idea, like just the competitive nature was awesome. Because I remember the first day that I actually beat him, because I never had to question if he let me win or not. Like, because he had beaten me hundreds of times before. And then like he would win, then I would win. And then slowly it just kind of turned. But those battles were crazy, and it would always be like some circus shot that Merritt would throw up, like to beat you by one that would drive you nuts. But like, it was probably the best thing that could have happened for like my development as a basketball player.
Yeah, Merritt's my dad. For anyone who doesn't know that, and he's a different breed of human. Uh, so I remember watching you guys play. I remember Merritt still does this actually to this day. If he does play, like he actually tore his rotator cuff and had surgery, but he's getting better and now he's just starting to shoot again. I mean, he's 66, right? He's still doing it though. But I know when he plays, like we would always play to like 21 was like the common number that people played to. But your jersey number in like grade school and junior high was 31, which was like the games are just that much longer and that much more intense. And he still does that to this day. He'll like say, all right, we're gonna play, but in honor of Bobby Deetjen, we're playing to 31. And people have no idea what he's talking about. And they're just like, all right, old man, let's do it.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
they would last forever. And it didn't matter if it was the middle of the summer and it was 90 degrees out, like we'd still be going and battling. And we would always play more than one game too. So, to think
Oh
back,
yeah.
like it was crazy.
Yeah. And then we would have the epic, pickup games at the high school where we would play to like, it'd either be like 3 games to 31 or like one crazy game to 101. And
Right.
I don't know if like people still do that nowadays. I don't know. The game's changed, and I know that Noah's, going through his own experiences, but like, what's that like for him? Like, how does he work on his game?
So Noah wasn't like instantly into basketball. He liked it. And then probably fifth grade, sixth grade, I remember it was fifth grade and I was helping him like with basketball. And we were on our way to his tryout for the YMCA team. And he was questioning if he wanted to go. And I was like, if you want to play basketball, great. If you don't, that's okay. but you're going to do something. So basically it's this or swimming. And he decided to go to the tryout. He did that. And then 5th grade goes, 6th grade, we got like blown out by somebody. And he's sitting with me, like kind of, I was just helping. And he's sitting with me at the end of the bench. And he's like, I never want to feel like this again. And I was like, well, do you want to start to train? And he said, yeah. So we started training together, and put in a ton of work in the driveway, and at the YMCA. And then he just started to become obsessed with the game. It's kind of like where we were when we were kids, and just wanting to go to the YMCA every single day to put up shots and to play with older kids and continue to train. And, we got past the dad versus trainer type of thing that sometimes happens. And once in a while we still run up against it, but he now goes and he works out with friends. I train his friends. So he puts in a lot of work at like the high school and middle school and elementary schools in Belfast. Like after school, we'll go and we'll train for like an hour and a half, getting up shots, working on ball handling, that type of thing.
See, I can tell that you've worked with him because I saw him play during this past winter, Lincoln Academy. And I think the first shot he attempted was a baseline drive, and he got into the classic Bobby Deetjen double clutch, whatever that thing is you do. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's your kid. Like, that's obvious.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, he's way more skilled than I ever was. And that includes in college. Like, his ball handling is as probably tight as they can get, both with his right and his left hand. But in his shot form is way better than mine was. But like, he's put up probably 10 times as many just like consistent shots as any of us had at that age. And again, like coming back to the piece, like he's going to be forced into a place where he has to shoot more because as a freshman, he just kind of embraced the role as a point guard and just to like distribute and get the ball to the bigger guys. This next year, even as a sophomore, he's going to be in a place that he has to score for their team to win, that's going to be a tough transition, I think, but one that I think he can make.
Yeah, that's an interesting, point you bring up about him being, even more skilled than you were in college. And people will debate this all the time. And I think we get nostalgic for like players like Larry Bird or whatever who are phenomenal, right? And it's like, well, could he play today? And it's like, well, I think he could because I think that if a guy like that played today, they would be exposed to the same things that everyone else is exposed to. And so, like, yes, and he'd probably be that much better and that much more skilled. I think where the game is a little different because of the way it's officiated, it's cleaner, it's less physical, right? And it's more skill based now. And you do have to be this exceptionally skilled player to excel. And like the perfect example is like Wembanyama, right? Like Wembanyama is 7'4" and plays like a guard. And like if he was playing in the 90s, he'd be a back to the basket guy. So it's just like kind of how the game is going.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is I would say that our generation, obviously, I think we played a tougher style of basketball, more physical. But I would say we were probably a little bit more intelligent on the court when it comes to basketball IQ and seeing things. And I think that came from just playing a ton of real basketball from an early age. And even when we played pickup at the Y, like the guys were so competitive that a game to 31 or to 101 would last because people were playing good defense and you had to make good cuts to get open. All those little things that took place then, you don't necessarily have to have mastered. And the guys that are most successful now are the ones that actually look at the game a little bit differently and more in that way. And then combine that with really great skills. put them at a little bit of a different level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely different. Let me ask you this. I wanted to bring up two stories from our youth. You remember spray painting the driveway?
I do. Yeah, that wasn't the greatest
Well,
decision, but
what was our thought process behind that?
I do not know, but I remember Merritt and Trish not being super excited about it.
Didn't Merritt throw the spray can like at your head?
No, he didn't throw it at my head. It was just in my
Okay.
general vicinity. Yeah, that was a bad day. And I remember just being so freaked out. And because I mean, we made bad decisions on occasion. I'm like kid decisions, but that was definitely up there. And yeah, but I look at like decisions that kids make all the time, and I'm like, yep, that was us.
You know what's funny is like that all happened, right? And I know what we did. We spray painted like a free throw line and a 3-point line, and then we wrote like NBA, and I think we drew like a basketball was like kind of a decorated little key. And Bert flipped out, and then at like the dinner table, he was like, "I actually kind of like it."
Yeah, yeah, but it took like a couple hours to get there for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Like
a knee
we
jerk
might have taken a
reaction.
walk or something. We disappeared for a little bit.
Yep. So the other thing, I feel like there was less of a freak out for this, but more of a panic on our end was when Wayton was with us, and all right, so Wayton's our friend who can jump and dunk a little bit, and he dunked off of like a footstool or something, but instead of like the rim or the backboard breaking, the pole broke. And what do you remember about this incident?
Well, I remember it coming down and being like, Merritt's going to be pissed. Um, and but like he was pretty good with it. You know, he like related it to Shaq or something like that. But being more bummed that we were not going to be able to play basketball for a while because we had just broken the hoop. But I think it was the anticipation of what was going to be said. I think it was more it for me.
But we tried to solve the problem. So what we did, Bobby, I don't know if you remember these details, but you were like, all right, I think we can like push the hoop back up. And then I was like, all right, I know what we can do. We can make like a splint to like save the pole. And so there was like some scrap wood and like duct tape. And then this is not great, but so Wade got the idea of like, we need some like more like rope or something. And I was like, well, people have like dog leashes around. And so we went down Montgomery Road. We left you in the driveway. You're like holding up the pole. Wade and I are going to like people's houses and we're stealing dog leashes. We probably stole like 5 leashes. And then we brought them back and we tied the hoop up with the leashes.
Yeah, I don't remember those details. I remember holding the basketball hoop, but I don't remember you guys getting leashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work. I just remember that.
No. The other thing I want to talk to you about is you went on like vacations with us in high school. Like we've been like, to different parts of the country and even beyond borders. We went to Niagara Falls and we went to Hilton Head, South Carolina. Like, what do you remember about those trips?
I still talk about them to my own kids. Like that was probably the biggest gift that your family could have given me as a kid because my parents didn't travel. Like our vacations consisted of going down and seeing my great aunts in West Haven, Connecticut, always at like the hottest point of the year. It was like, and there was nothing really to do there. So I remember our first trips. I remember going around that like park area at Niagara Falls. I remember like both Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head, like just going down to the hard packed area on the beach and just like going for miles. You know, those were awesome. And then like playing 2K in the back of the van, or NBA like 97 or whatever it was back then. Like we would play that in the back of the van the entire time. So those were incredible trips and incredible memories.
Yeah, what was that song that would play on the radio on repeat? I think it was like the Venga Bus.
We had like 3 or 4 like songs that we constantly played that luckily your parents were good with.
Yeah, well, it was always on the radio. I remember. I feel like we couldn't. It wasn't even like a offensive song, but it's like the Venga Bus is coming.
Yes, I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like the Hilton Head trip, I think.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, and Myrtle Beach. Went to Myrtle Beach too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we met up with a bunch of people in Myrtle Beach too.
Yeah, it was the
We were down there.
Browns. It was
The
Matt.
Browns were down there, yeah.
Yep, and
Hodgson.
then Kate Hodgson. Yep.
Um,
Dude, we went to medieval times.
that was a trip. Like I remember Merritt just being so mad that it was the biggest ripoff because he got like a little chicken leg and a potato, and he was still
Yes.
hungry. Yeah, great.
Yep. And then I remember probably one of the highlights for me was going to the buffet with Sereno. And it was just like this is like that's like peak life right
Yeah.
there. Like we're at a buffet with the Browns, like you're living, like they're awesome.
Anytime you got to go out to eat with the Browns was like a trip. Sereno would have like all these things and he'd be whistling the entire time. It was awesome.
Do you remember going to Beale Street with him and him trying like the hottest hot sauces?
Yeah. Which would like Matt took that on as a challenge too later on in life. Like every hot sauce he would try. Yeah, Beale Street was a blast. Like you would have the cornbread was like the jalapeno cornbread. Yeah.
Yep.
After our tournament games, like at the Bath YMCA.
Yes, yeah. God, man, we played all over. It's crazy to me. From humble beginnings, going. I remember our first travel team games. It was like Monmouth and then Richmond, and then to think that we went from that to playing like the Portland teams, and then doing what we did in high school. What do you remember? I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about I mean the state championship game itself, but maybe like larger than that, kind of almost like from where we were like junior year to senior year and like what that like shift was.
Well, I think junior year, I mean, the majority of us were in that like support role. Our job is to like work it inside and like just pound the boards. And, if we had an opportunity to score, we would score. And just like the devastation around the state championship game. And it was like, once that was done, like that kind of switch flipped as far as like understanding what we had to do to like win the next year and making the commitment to play every day, even if we were playing another sport. And understanding like what our roles were going to be. And everybody embraced those roles, which was pretty insane. Because I think when you're looking at a lot of basketball today, like kids have an idea of what their role is and they don't want to switch out of that, where everyone on our team accepted that role. I think the community and just being embraced by the community so much was different than what others would experience, probably in the same town later on. Just going into stores or going into restaurants and having people talk to you about what was going to be coming for the next year was pretty crazy. And then there's a moment, a really vivid moment that I have, like both at the Augusta Civic Center and at the Bangor Auditorium, was looking up at our crowd and just like being amazed at the amount of support and like care that the community had, which was pretty crazy. And to think that we were only 16, 17, 18 years old, and that the community kind of just was so involved in that process was pretty magical.
Yeah, it's crazy to have what is this like kind of defining moment that you can look back on. And it's something that I kind of like wrestle with like personally a little bit where it's like I don't want to say that like my life peaked at 17, right? But like but at the same time I fully acknowledge like how special it really was. And like people still talk about it to this day. So like there must be a reason for it, right? And yeah, I just feel really lucky to be a part of that with you and Ian and Michael. And kind of, I think this is just like a little separate. But I'm watching the NBA Finals, and I talked to Merritt the other day, and I'm like, like Brunson and Hart and Bridges, they like played at Villanova, and now they're three teammates in the finals. And I'm like, right there, it's Ian, Michael, Bobby. I don't know who's who, but I'm just like, they have that kind of chemistry, and then if like you needed an unsung hero in like Carl Anthony Towns, that's like Billy, right? Like Billy just comes out of nowhere and helps us.
Right.
If you need a workhorse like Tomaselli, it's whatever the dude that got the tip in. Adenobi, I don't know how to pronounce his name or whatever. That'd be high praise for Tomaselli, actually. But you know what I'm saying though, like how you're talking about earlier, like we had this chemistry and just knowing how to play with each other. There's no substitute for that.
But I think that's playing a ton of basketball games together, and I think people are willing to sacrifice, and they understood like, okay, I'm not going to take 20 shots. I might get 2, and being good with that, as long as we won, they were fine with that. I mean, certainly like Billy was incredibly talented and, could have put up more numbers. But he understood that wasn't necessarily the role that he was playing on that team. And he would take what the defense gave him all the time, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah. No, we didn't take bad shots, and we always played to the matchups. But I could talk basketball all day. So this show, it's about it's not really meant to be an interview. It's really about friends just like catching up. And I'm trying to think of like things that are common amongst most people. And I don't know that I know the answer to this. I think I know what the answer would be when you were like 12, but I don't think I know what the answer at what are you 43, Bobby?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the answer now. So I started this film club in September, and I rent out the Harbor Theater like once a month, and we show free monthly movies. And it's cool. Like people come in, we have scorecards, we have a Q&A afterwards, and people will recommend movies. So, like, dude, what's your favorite movie?
Probably like of all time, just like any movie.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could even pick the last movie you watched. You could pick a movie that you just want to see on the big screen, like whatever.
I would say so. Like favorite movie of all time is Hoosiers for me.
I knew it. 12-year-old Bobby, Hoosiers.
Still today is Hoosiers. We watched that the other day with Hannah for the first time. Noah's seen it a ton of times, but Hannah for the first time. And then I would probably say like Rocky 4 after that.
Rocky, really?
Yeah.
Why Rocky 4?
Like just the idea of the devastation that you had with like Creed and then the comeback, and the whole like it just to me, it's always been my favorite Rocky.
Both of those movies, Rocky 4 and Hoosiers, um, they're so like 80s with the
Yeah,
montage going on. Like both movies are like extensive montages. It's such a like sign of the times. I love both those movies. I watched so there's this guy I subscribe to his YouTube channel. He does all kinds of movie stuff. And he went around to the Rocky 4 filming locations. And you know how like it's all right, it's Rocky, Sylvester Stallone. He's like on the mountain, he's training in Russia, getting ready to fight Ivan Drago. That was all shot in Wyoming.
right. Yeah, like I mean, I'm not a Stallone fan, and that's the craziest thing. Only like Rocky with Stallone, not a Rambo guy or anything else. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that to me tells me I really enjoy the movie a lot. If I can
Sure.
take away the personal like dislike of Stallone as an actor, um, and that's still one of my favorite movies, that tells me how much I like it.
Yeah, you're not going to come to a cinema clubhouse and recommend, stop or my mom will shoot, But that's
Right.
probably not your top pick.
But like those, and I think a lot of it does have to do with just kind of the times as well, and like where we were in life when we saw those things, and just kind of reminiscing a little bit. It allows you to do that. Though, like a good Happy Gilmore is always awesome, or Billy Madison. So to get to watch those movies like with my son now is awesome. Like it's like going back in time.
All right, let me ask you about this. I want to shift gears because you're the one person I can talk to about this. Big Brother, man. All right, so Big Brother, I'm obsessed with, and um, I remember telling you about this like back in the day, and I started watching during the writers' strike of like 2008, and they had this like couples season thing where this guy oh, Adam won. He was like kind of a goofy, like curly blonde hair guy, kind of aloof. And I didn't like catch the very beginning of the season. But then the following season I watched during the summer, strike was over, and this guy Dan Giesling won, and I thought he played the house really well. And I haven't missed an episode since. It starts up on July 9th. I'm like the only person left watching it, but you watched it before I did, and I remember you were like, "If you like it, the guy you got to check out is Dr. Will." So, tell me a little bit about your relationship with Big Brother.
Yeah. So I didn't know what Big Brother was until I met Kate, and she would watch it over the summer, like with her family. And I started to go up there during the summer, and started to get into it and watch it. And then like just seeing the people manipulate one another was just like fascinating from a psychological and a sociological standpoint. Um, then later on, like when they started messing with the game, like I was kind of out. I was like, I can't deal with like the big surprise of the summer every week. So I've stopped watching it a little bit, but this year, Kate and I were talking, we were like, we should try like to watch it again. So we're going to be tuning in July, but
Cool.
it's to me, it's just like, it's awesome to watch people try to figure out who's going to like backdoor the other person, and like who's going to screw over who.
So, like, all right, my sister, through like Spectrum or whatever, she gets all these free add-ons, and so she got like Paramount Plus, which like I don't have it, and so she gave me her login, and now I have it, and so I've gone back and I've actually spent time watching like Doctor Will. I'm in season 2 right now. Mind this was aired in like 2001,
Right.
and it's so funny, man, because like it's a competition-based show where, like, they have these competitions and you win them, and you get to nominate people for eviction and advance yourself through the game. And Dr. Will's just like, "No, I'm not doing that." He doesn't do anything. He's just like, "I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna be annoying. I'm gonna complain," because the thought process is if I'm like a pain in the ass, everyone's gonna wanna take me to the end, and then I know he wins on season 2. But it is. It's like an exploration of psychology and sociology, and it gets ugly at times, especially back then. You watch like reality TV from like early 2000s, like dude, it's a little unhinged.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was brilliant, and then other people would try to do the same thing later on. Like Dan, who you mentioned, was kind of that type of player as well. Like he would just try to mess with people.
Kind of, yeah.
But I think he had more of some athletic ability and didn't have to rely on just the psychological.
Yeah, he won competitions. What he did, I think, is he would get in trouble and would win competitions when he had to.
Right.
Yeah, and Will, he never really had to. That's just how like good he was socially. Do you have any other like favorite players that you can remember?
I don't. That was to me like the best season of all time, actually. Like Janelle, like she played the game really well.
Yeah, she was a beast.
And understood like how to play, like both psychologically, but also could win competitions. So she would probably be like the second favorite.
I don't know. Did you ever see Paul play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
liked Paul. As far as like newer players, I think Paul he got to the finals in the 2 seasons he played, and then he lost both times. I thought the second time he should have won for sure. I thought that was a case of like a bitter jury not electing him the winner. Um, but he kind of, as far as modern-ish players go, is probably my favorite, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he understood like how to try to divide the house. And I think that's ultimately like why he lost both seasons. Um, for him, I think he was at a disadvantage because everyone at that point, they were just like, well, you're playing the game like so and so, you're just copying the game and not playing your own. And I think that's ultimately what cost him.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. And you're right that as the game has gone on, like the twists do get tiresome. Like there are problems with it, and at the same time I understand it because they're trying to keep it fresh and exciting, but like there's an element of like just play the old school Big Brother. Like that's what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I would love to see them go back to like the original rules and just like that's what it was. Because I
yeah.
think that's where you would have some people that would get re-engaged with it.
So I've told you this, and I'm in the process of it, Bobby. It might happen next winter, but I applied for virtual Big Brother.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I
Yeah,
would
do you have any
definitely be in
advice?
at that point.
What kind of player should I be?
Oh, I would play just like Dr. Will. I would just make everyone mad the entire time. And then convince them that they need me to just be there so they can definitely win. I think it's still probably the best and most effective strategy.
All right, well, I have a few months to work on pissing people off, I guess.
Right.
All right, man. It's been super fun hanging out with you. I've got one final question that I asked like everybody. And I think this might be relevant to you, especially because like your mom passed away, which like we all love Mrs. Deetjen. Like she literally was a mother to us all, and it ties into that a little bit. And so I think your answer might be more profound. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Just about your answer is your answer, right? But so here it is. So when my grandmother Grover, whom you also knew, passed away in 2008. She was just kind of like boisterous personality. She had like her little rhinestone jackets or whatever she would wear. Her perm going, she was cool, but she had lung cancer. And when she was really sick, one of the last things she said to me, she was like, my only regret in life is that I never allowed myself to eat an ice cream sundae every time that I wanted one. And I was just like, that's your regret? Like, just have a sundae. And so you can answer it however you want, but I guess the question is like, what fills you up, or what's on your bucket list? What's your metaphorical ice cream sundae? Like, what do you want to do, man? I know, like, you're coaching your kids or supporting them from the stands, but like, what's left for Bobby Deetjen?
Yeah, I mean, I think what fills like my bucket is definitely just time with family for sure, and like getting to travel as much as possible and just do different types of experiences. Um, I think my parents worked really, really hard to provide as much as they could for my brothers and I. And obviously, like we're trying to do the same for our kids. And I think the biggest thing is that travel piece to just experience like our own country and what it has to offer. But to live experiences that like kind of push your senses to another level. To give you an example, we decided to fly down to Austin, Texas to watch the women's basketball game against LSU. So it was like
Cool.
the number 2 team versus the number 5 team in the country. And the environment just was so electric that you could just feel it in your veins. And just like how insane the crowd was and all of that. My kids, I remember just looking over and seeing Kate and my kids and just feeling like this is an amazing moment, and like capturing that and wanting to do that more and provide that opportunity. And I think that's ultimately like what fuels me every day.
I love it, man. That's such a great answer. It's a beautiful answer. You got anything on the calendar coming up?
So it's our 20th wedding anniversary. So we are, yeah, it's crazy. We started young, like you said. So we are just Kate and I are going to go down to Nashville. She's always wanted to go. I've never been to Nashville, been to just about every other city. But that's the one that I was like, yeah, let's just try it out. So unfortunately, because of basketball tournaments and travel basketball and high school basketball, we have to go in August. So that's going to be insanely hot. But it should be a good time. So we're really looking forward to that one. How about you?
Dude, I've got some stuff coming up. If you go down to Nashville, I know they got a lot of open mic situations there. I will Venmo you, Bobby. I will pay you like $100 to do some open mic, Vanilla Ice or Tone Loc, your pick. I want
Oh,
video.
it would be Tone Loc for sure, but there's no way. No
Come
way.
on, man. It's an easy $100. It's an easy $100. You can do it. I've got some stuff coming up. I'm going to Lord Huron next week in Bangor, or 2 weeks from now. And some other concerts on the calendar and different events I'm planning. So yeah, I've got stuff coming up.
When you got your recital coming up, like
I
at
do.
Menominee Valley High School.
I know, old school, right?
That
Yeah,
is
my
old
niece.
school.
Yeah, you used to come to those with us, and we would break into the gym and put shots up at the
Right?
house and would dancing around. But now it's my niece Piper, and I don't really know what's going on. It's jazz, I know that, and I think she's a raccoon. She's a raccoon.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But all right, man. I want to just thank everyone who's taking the time to listen to this and hang out with us. It's been awesome hanging out with you, Bobby, and catching up. I hope you found it, informative, insightful, inspiring. Maybe it was just background noise. However you want to consume it, that's up to you. But Bobby, I love you, dude. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being a friend.
Yeah, I love you too, brother.